I fell asleep beside the school's ice queen on the bus. When I woke up, her lips were pressed against my cheek. For a few seconds, I had no idea what was happening. I opened my eyes and saw the most unexpected person in the world sitting beside me. Avery Collins. The girl every student at Clearwater High knew. The girl who had rejected every confession, every dance invitation, and every attempt from guys who thought they were good enough for her. The girl everyone called the Ice Queen. And she was looking at me with a small smile. "Good morning, Noah." I immediately sat up. My backpack fell from my shoulder, and a few students behind us started laughing. "Wait," I said quietly. "Did you just kiss my cheek?" Avery looked completely calm. "Yes." That answer somehow confused me more. "Why?" She tilted her head. "Because you looked tired. That's not usually why people kiss someone." A tiny smile appeared on her face. "You were asleep. I thought you wouldn't panic." I stared at her. "You knew I would panic?" "Noah, you panic when a teacher says your name. That happened once." "It happened yesterday." I had no answer. Because she was right. My name is Noah Bennett. At Clearwater High, I wasn't exactly invisible. People knew me. I was the guy who fixed the yearbook cameras, helped classmates with homework, and stayed late after school to organize equipment for clubs. But I wasn't someone people talked about. I wasn't the football captain. I wasn't the student council president. I wasn't the guy everyone expected a girl like Avery Collins to notice. Avery was different. She was beautiful, smart, and always surrounded by people. She was the captain of the debate team, the editor of the school newspaper, and the person teachers trusted with every important event. But she never acted like she was better than anyone. That was the strange part. The Ice Queen wasn't cold. She was just careful. I first met Avery 6 months earlier. The school newspaper computer crashed the night before a major issue was supposed to be published. Everyone was stressed. Avery was sitting in front of the broken computer, staring at the screen. "Can you fix it?" she asked. I looked around. "Me?" She smiled. "Yes, Noah. You." 10 minutes later, the computer worked again. I expected her to say thank you and leave. Instead, she stayed. "You always help people?" I shrugged. "When I can." "Why?" "Because they need help." She looked at me strangely. Like my answer surprised her. After that day, Avery started sitting beside me on the bus. Every morning. Same seat. Same time. At first, I thought it was random. Then I noticed something. Whenever someone tried to sit beside me, Avery would quietly say, "Sorry. Someone's sitting here." That someone was always me. When the bus stopped in front of school, Avery stood up. She picked up her bag and looked at me. "Don't disappear today." I blinked. "What?" She smiled. "You heard me. I wasn't planning to disappear. You always do when something confuses you." I looked away. Unfortunately, she knew me too well. "Why did you kiss me?" I asked again. This time, she didn't answer immediately. She looked around the bus. Everyone was leaving, but several students were still watching us. Then she leaned closer. "Because I wanted to." My heart skipped. "That's it? For now?" "For now?" She smiled. "You ask too many questions. You give too few answers. Maybe that's why we work." Before I could respond, she walked off the bus, leaving me completely confused. The entire morning, I couldn't focus. During math class, I wrote the same equation 3 times. During lunch, I forgot to open my sandwich. My friend Lucas noticed immediately. "You look like your brain stopped working." I sighed. Avery kissed me. He froze. "The Avery Collins?" "Yes." "The girl who rejected Mason Taylor?" "Yes." "The guy who was captain of the basketball team?" "Yes." Lucas stared at me. "And she kissed you?" "Yes." He leaned back. "I have been telling everyone for months." "Telling them what?" "That she likes you." I laughed. "No way." Lucas looked serious. "Noah." "What?" "She literally saves that bus seat for you every day." "That doesn't mean anything." "She brings you coffee." "She brings coffee for everyone." "She knows your favorite drink." I stopped. "She remembers your birthday." I stopped again. "She asked the librarian to keep your favorite book available because she noticed someone always borrowed it." I looked at him. "How do you know all this?" Lucas shrugged. "Because everyone knows except you." After school, I found Avery waiting outside the library. She was holding 2 drinks. One was mine. I stared. "You remembered." She handed it to me. "Of course." "How?" She looked confused. "How do I remember something about you?" Yes. Avery smiled softly. Noah, I remember everything about people I care about. That sentence made my heart beat faster. People you care about? She looked at me. Yes. The hallway suddenly felt quieter. Avery, she stepped closer. I know you're confused. I am. I know you think there's some mistake. Maybe. She shook her head. There isn't. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she smiled. Tomorrow morning, sit beside me again. I laughed. You're ordering me? Yes. Why? Because I saved that seat for you. She walked away before I could answer. And for the first time, I wondered if I had spent months believing the wrong thing. Maybe Avery Collins wasn't the girl everyone couldn't reach. Maybe she was the girl who had been reaching for me all along. The next morning, I arrived at the bus stop 20 minutes earlier than usual. Not because I was excited. At least, that was what I told myself. I just wanted to understand what was happening. For months, Avery Collins had been sitting beside me every morning. For months, she remembered small details about me that even my closest friends forgot. And somehow, I had convinced myself it meant nothing. Maybe I was just bad at noticing things. Or maybe I was afraid to believe someone like Avery could actually like someone like me. When the bus arrived, I stepped inside. There were already several students sitting together. Avery was near the back. The seat beside her was empty. And the moment she saw me, she smiled. Not the polite smile she gave teachers. Not the confident smile she gave during debates. The real one. The one I had only seen a few times. She lifted her hand. Over here. I walked toward her. You saved it? She looked at the empty seat. Obviously. You do realize nobody else was going to take it? That's not the point. What is the point? She moved her backpack away. The point is that I wanted you sitting here. I sat down. And somehow, that simple sentence made my entire morning better. A few minutes later, the bus started moving. Avery opened her notebook. I noticed something written on the corner. My name. I immediately looked away. She noticed. You saw that. No, you're terrible at lying. I was just looking. At my notebook? At the notebook area. She laughed. Notebook area? Yes. You're strange, Noah. You kissed me while I was asleep. That's true. And somehow I'm the strange one? She smiled. Yes. I couldn't help laughing. This was the thing nobody at school understood. Avery wasn't intimidating. Not with me. With me, she was playful. She teased me. She laughed. She made jokes. The girl everyone thought was impossible to approach was actually the easiest person to talk to. During lunch, Avery surprised me again. She sat across from me in the cafeteria. That alone made several people look over. Normally, Avery sat with the student council group, the table where everyone expected her to be. But today, she sat with me. Lucas almost dropped his drink. Okay. He looked between us. I need answers. Avery calmly opened her lunch. About what? You sitting here. She looked around. Is there a problem? No, Lucas shook his head. There is definitely not a problem. Avery continued eating. Lucas leaned toward me. She is terrifying. She's not. She just made me question my entire existence with one sentence. Avery looked up. I heard that. Lucas immediately sat straight. Great lunch today. I laughed. Avery smiled. After lunch, we had history class together. The teacher announced a partner assignment. Everyone immediately started moving. I expected Avery to choose someone from her debate team, someone who matched her. Instead, she turned toward me. Noah. Yeah? Partners? I blinked. You want to work with me? She looked confused. Why wouldn't I? I don't know. That answer worries me. I smiled. I just thought you'd choose someone more impressive. Avery's expression changed. Not angry. Just serious. Do you really think that? I didn't answer. She lowered her voice. Noah, you always do this. Do what? Act like everyone else is more valuable than you. I looked at my desk. I don't. You do. She tapped the assignment paper. You think being noticed is what makes someone important. I stayed quiet. Then she said something I didn't expect. I notice you. I looked at her. And she looked away quickly, like she had said more than she planned. After school, we worked together in the library. At first, I thought it would be awkward. It wasn't. Avery was actually fun to study with. She made sarcastic comments about historical figures. She complained about boring textbooks. She even admitted she hated public speaking before competitions. You? I laughed. You're joking. No, you literally stand in front of hundreds of people. That doesn't mean I like it. Then why do it? She looked at her notes. Because sometimes being scared means something matters. That answer sounded exactly like her. Strong, but honest. When we finished, the library was almost empty. Avery packed her books slowly. You know what I remember? What? The first day we met. When I fixed your computer? Yes. You remember that? She smiled. I remember everything. I looked at her. Why? She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, because that was the first time someone helped me without wanting anything. I didn't know what to say. Avery closed her notebook. Everyone thinks I have everything. You kinda do. She smiled. See? You're doing it too. What? Thinking my life is easier because it looks perfect. I looked down. She continued. People ask me for things all the time. Advice? Favors. Help. Connections. She looked at me. But you just helped me. With the computer? With everything. I wanted to ask what she meant. But before I could, my phone buzzed. It was a message from the yearbook club. They needed someone to photograph the winter festival. Avery glanced at the screen. Are you doing it? Probably. Good. Good? She nodded. I like seeing your photos. I smiled. You've seen them before. I know. Then why? Because you look happy when you take them. That sentence stayed with me. Because Avery didn't just notice what I did. She noticed me. When I got home that night, I opened my phone. There was a new message. From Avery. Avery, don't forget tomorrow. I smiled. Me, forget what? A few seconds later, Avery, the seat beside me. I laughed. Me, you really don't want anyone else sitting there? Her reply came immediately. Avery, no. Then another message appeared. Avery, because that's my favorite place at school. I stared at the screen. And for the first time, I stopped wondering if Avery liked me. The real question became, how long had she been waiting for me to realize it? Chapter 3, The Secret She Never Told Anyone. After that week, something between Avery and me changed. Not officially. We never sat down and said, we're together now. But everyone around us seemed to understand something I was still trying to process. Avery Collins was choosing me. Every day. And somehow, that scared me more than it excited me. Because liking someone from a distance was easy. You could imagine anything. But when that person actually liked you back, you had to believe you were worth choosing. And I wasn't used to that. The Winter Festival was the biggest event at Clearwater High. The gym was decorated with lights, music filled the hallways, and every club had a booth. The yearbook team needed someone to take pictures. Of course, I volunteered. That was what I did. I stayed behind the camera. I captured everyone else's best moments. I never expected to be part of one. Until Avery showed up. She was wearing a dark blue dress with a simple silver necklace. The entire hallway seemed to slow down when she walked in. Students greeted her. Teachers complimented her. People naturally moved toward her. Then she saw me. And instead of joining the crowd around her, she walked directly to me. You're working already? I lifted my camera. That's usually what photographers do. She smiled. You're missing the festival. I'm recording it. No, she shook her head. You're hiding behind it. I froze. Because she was right. Avery reached for my camera. Come on. Where? Pictures. I'm taking pictures. Of other people. She handed the camera back to me. Take one with me. I laughed. Why? Because one day, I want proof that you were actually here. That's dramatic. You like photography. That doesn't mean I need proof I attended my own school event. She looked at me. Noah. What? You always act like your presence doesn't matter. I had no answer. Because she was right again. We took a picture together. Nothing special. Just Avery standing beside me while I awkwardly smiled at the camera. But later that night, when I looked through the photos, I stopped. Because Avery wasn't looking at the camera. She was looking at me. Like I was the only thing in the room worth seeing. A few days later, something happened that changed how I saw Avery. During lunch, a freshman student dropped her books in the hallway. Most people walked past. Avery didn't. She stopped immediately and helped pick them up. You okay? The girl nodded. Thank you. Avery smiled. Everyone needs help sometimes. I watched from nearby. And suddenly, I understood. Avery wasn't kind because people were watching. She was kind when nobody was. That was the difference. After school, I asked her about it. You helped that girl even though you were late for student council. Avery shrugged. She needed help. I smiled. That sounds familiar. She looked at me. What? That's what I said when you asked why I helped you. Avery smiled softly. I remember. You remember everything. Yes. Why? She looked away. For once, she seemed nervous. Because some people are easy to remember. My heart skipped. Some people? She looked back at me. You. That evening, we sat on the school steps after everyone left. The campus was quiet. Avery looked different when nobody else was around. Less like the Ice Queen. More like a normal girl. A girl who got nervous. A girl who cared too much. Can I ask you something? I nodded. Why do you always think I'll choose someone else? I didn't expect that question. I don't know. Yes, you do. I looked down. Because people like you usually don't choose people like me. Avery became quiet. Then she moved closer. Noah. Yeah? Who told you that? Nobody. Then why believe it? I didn't answer. She sighed softly. You know what everyone sees when they look at me? The perfect girl? Exactly. She looked at her hands. But you're the only person who asks if I'm tired. I stared at her. You notice that? Yes. She smiled. Everyone wants the Ice Queen. A pause. I just wanted someone who cared about Avery. The next morning, something unexpected happened. I got on the bus. The seat beside Avery was empty. But there was something different. A small note was taped to the window. I picked it up. It had only one sentence. Reserved for Noah Bennett. I looked at Avery. She pretended to read her book. You did that? No, I raised an eyebrow. She looked away. Maybe. I laughed. You wrote my name on a bus seat? Yes. Why? She closed her book. Because I want you to stop wondering where you belong. I stared at the note, then at her. And for the first time, I understood something. Avery wasn't just saving me a seat. She had been making space for me in her life. Long before I noticed. For the first time in my life, I started to believe that maybe I wasn't imagining things. Maybe Avery really did like me. Maybe the girl everyone thought was impossible to reach had actually been reaching for me all along. And that should have made me happy. It did. But it also made me afraid. Because the closer someone gets, the more they can hurt you. A few weeks later, Clearwater High announced the annual senior charity event. Every club had to prepare something. The student council was responsible for organizing the entire event, which meant Avery was busier than ever. She stayed after school almost every day. Meetings, planning, phone calls, emails. I understood. At least, I tried to. But slowly, something changed. The girl who always saved me a seat started arriving later. The girl who always messaged me after school started replying hours later. The girl who noticed everything about me seemed too busy to notice anything at all. And I told myself it was normal. People got busy. People had responsibilities. But that little voice inside my head started saying something else. Maybe Avery liked the idea of me. Not me. Maybe I was just the quiet guy who made her feel comfortable. Someone different from everyone else. Someone temporary. One afternoon, I waited outside the library for her. We were supposed to work on our history project. 30 minutes passed. Then 40. Finally, my phone buzzed. Avery, I'm sorry. Student council meeting went longer than expected. Can we do tomorrow? I stared at the message. Normally, I would have said yes. I would have told her it was fine. Because with Avery, I always wanted to make things easier. But this time, I typed something different. Me, sure. No problem. A few seconds later, Avery, you sound upset. I looked at the screen. She still knew. Even when she was busy. Me, I'm not. Her reply came quickly. Avery, Noah. I smiled sadly. She always said my name like she already knew I was lying. The next day, something happened that made everything worse. I was walking past the auditorium when I saw Avery talking with Ryan Mitchell. The same Ryan who had asked her to the winter dance. The same Ryan who had everything I didn't. He was confident, popular, easy to notice. They were standing close together, laughing. Then Ryan handed her a small box. I stopped. Avery opened it. Inside was a necklace. My chest tightened. I knew I shouldn't keep watching. But I did. Ryan said something. Avery looked surprised. Then she smiled. That was enough. I walked away. I knew I was being unfair. I knew I didn't have the right to feel hurt. Avery wasn't my girlfriend. She never promised me anything. But that was exactly the problem. I had started acting like she was already mine. And maybe I had misunderstood everything. That evening, Avery found me near the bus stop. You left school early. I had things to do. She studied my face. What happened? Nothing. Noah. I looked away. You don't have to explain everything to me. Her expression changed. What does that mean? It means you're busy. I am. And you have your own life. Yes. So maybe I shouldn't expect so much. Avery became quiet. What are you saying? I forced a smile. Nothing. But she knew. She always knew. You're stepping back. I didn't answer. That was my answer. For the first time, Avery looked hurt. Not angry. Not cold. Actually hurt. Why? I looked at her. Because you're going places, Avery. What does that have to do with this? You're the person everyone wants. And I stopped. I hated saying it, but it was the truth I had carried for years. I'm just the person who sits beside you on the bus. Her eyes widened. Noah. I'm not blaming you. You sound like you are. I'm not. I took a breath. I just think maybe I should stop expecting something that might not happen. Avery stared at me for a long moment. Then she said quietly, You really don't understand. I looked at her. Understand what? She looked away, like she wanted to say something, but stopped herself. Nothing. That hurt more than I expected, because for once, Avery had no answer. The next morning, I got on the bus. Her seat was empty. I stood there for a second. Then I sat somewhere else. Across the aisle. Far enough away that I couldn't pretend nothing had changed. A few minutes later, Avery got on. She saw me. And froze. Her eyes moved to the empty seat beside her. The seat she had saved for me every day. Then back to me. I expected her to be angry. Instead, she looked sad. She walked over. Is this really what you want? I didn't know how to answer. Because the truth was no. It wasn't. But sometimes, leading first felt safer than being left. I think it's better. Avery looked at me. Better for who? I had no answer. She nodded slowly. Then she returned to her seat. Alone. For the rest of the ride, neither of us spoke. But something felt different. Because for the first time since I met Avery Collins, she wasn't the one closing the distance. I was. And I had no idea how much that would hurt. The next few days felt strange. Not because Avery changed. Because I did. Before, I had spent every morning waiting for her to sit beside me. Now, I arrived early and chose the seat across the aisle. Before, I looked for her during lunch. Now, I pretended to be busy. Before, every message from her made my day. Now, I stared at my phone and wondered if replying too quickly would make me look desperate. It was stupid. I knew it was stupid. But once you convince yourself that someone is too far above you, every small thing starts feeling like proof. Avery noticed immediately. Of course she did. She always noticed everything. On Thursday afternoon, she found me in the library. You've been avoiding me. I looked up from my laptop. I've been studying. You studied in the library yesterday. Yes. For 4 hours. Yes. You don't like studying. I closed my laptop. Maybe I'm changing. Avery stared at me. That's a terrible excuse. I almost smiled. Because that was the Avery I knew. The girl who could see through every fake answer. But then I remembered. Maybe she could see through me because she was just naturally observant. Not because I was special. She sat across from me. What happened? Nothing. Noah. I'm serious. No, her voice was quiet. You're not. I looked away. Avery lowered her voice. Is this because of Ryan? My heart stopped. So she knew. I don't know what you mean. You saw him give me the necklace. I didn't answer. She sighed. Noah. What? He was giving me a gift for his sister. I froze. His sister? Yes. She's on the dance team. I know. Then why didn't you tell me? Avery looked confused. Because you never asked. That answer hurt. Not because she was wrong. Because I realized I had created an entire story in my head. A story where Avery chose someone else. A story where I was the only person who didn't belong. I'm sorry, I said. Avery looked at me. For what? For assuming. She nodded slowly. That's part of it. Part of it? Yes. I frowned. What else? She looked disappointed. You really think I would do all those things for you and then suddenly choose someone else? I stayed silent. Because I didn't know. And that was the problem. Avery leaned closer. Do you know why I sit beside you every morning? Because the seat is empty? Her expression became almost offended. No, because you like talking to me? No, then why? She took a breath. Because the first time I sat there, you gave me your headphones. I blinked. What? You thought I looked tired. I remembered. Freshman year. Avery had been sitting alone, staring out the window. I had offered her one side of my headphones. I barely remembered it. She clearly did. You didn't know who I was, she said. You didn't care that everyone thought I was special. You just saw someone who looked lonely. I didn't know what to say. That's why I like you, Noah. The words were quiet, but they felt louder than anything else. I looked at her. You like me? She almost laughed. Yes. Since when? Since before you noticed. That answer sounded exactly like Avery. Simple. Certain. After school, we walked toward the bus stop together. Neither of us said much. But the silence felt different. Not uncomfortable. Just honest. When the bus arrived, Avery stopped beside the door. She looked at the seat across the aisle. Then at me. Are you really going to keep sitting there? I smiled slightly. I don't know. She shook her head. You're impossible. You like that. Unfortunately. I laughed. Then she did something unexpected. She walked to her usual seat and placed her bag on the chair beside her, the same way she always did, saving it for me. I looked at her. Avery. What? You're still saving the seat? She looked away. Yes. Even after I moved? Yes. Why? Her answer came immediately. Because I never stopped wanting you there. I sat beside her. For the first time in days. The bus moved forward. Outside, the school disappeared behind us. Inside, everything felt familiar again. But something had changed. I finally understood. Avery wasn't choosing me because I was the easiest person to like. She was choosing me because she had already decided. The only person who wasn't sure was me. When I got home that night, I received a message from Avery. Avery, I have something to tell you tomorrow. I smiled. Me, another secret? A few seconds later, Avery, yes. Me, should I be worried? Her reply came quickly. Avery, no. Then another message appeared. Avery, but I think you're finally ready to hear it. I stared at the screen. Because somehow, I knew. Whatever Avery had been hiding, it was something she had been waiting a long time to say. The next morning, I arrived at the bus stop earlier than usual. Not because I was nervous. At least, that was what I told myself. But the truth was simple. Avery had said she had something to tell me. And somehow, I spent the entire night wondering what it was. When the bus arrived, I walked inside. Avery was already there. Of course she was. She sat in our usual seat. And the moment she saw me, she smiled. Good morning. Morning. I sat beside her. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she handed me a small envelope. I looked at it. What is this? Open it. I turned it over. My name was written on the front. Not printed. Written. By her. Avery, just read it. Inside was a photo. A very old photo. It was from freshman year. I was standing near the auditorium, holding a broken speaker. I remembered that day. The school was preparing for the welcome event. The sound system failed. Everyone was stressed. I stayed after school to fix it, but I didn't remember anyone taking a picture. I looked at Avery. You had this? She nodded. For 3 years. I stared at her. Why? She smiled slightly. Because that was the first time I noticed you. I looked back at the photo. You noticed me because I fixed a speaker? No, she shook her head. Because everyone was complaining about the problem. Teachers were angry. Students were annoyed. But you were the only person who didn't complain. I stayed quiet. You just helped. Avery looked out the bus window. And then you left without waiting for anyone to thank you. I laughed softly. That's what you remember? Yes. Why? She looked at me. Because I was used to people wanting something from me. The smile disappeared slightly. Everyone wanted to be my friend because of my grades, my family, or my reputation. But you didn't even know who I was. I smiled. You were just the girl standing next to a broken computer. She laughed. Exactly. The bus continued moving. Students talked around us. But somehow, it felt like we were alone. So the kiss. Avery immediately looked away. You're bringing that up again? Yes. Why? Because I still don't understand. She sighed. You really need everything explained. Yes. Fine. She closed her book. The morning I kissed you, you were asleep. I remember. You looked peaceful. I smiled. That sounds strange. It was. She looked down. Because at school, You always act like you're trying not to take up space. That sentence hit harder than I expected. You make yourself smaller around people. She continued. But on that bus, you weren't trying. You were just you. I didn't know what to say. Avery rarely talked about feelings. But now she was telling me things she had probably hidden from everyone. I wanted you to know, she said softly. Know what? That someone was happy you were there. My chest tightened. Avery, she smiled. That's why I kissed your cheek. Because you wanted me to know? Yes. Why didn't you just tell me? She looked embarrassed. Because I'm not as confident as everyone thinks. I laughed. You? Yes. The girl who debates in front of hundreds of people? Those people don't matter. I looked at her. You matter. Her expression softened. You do. When we arrived at school, something unexpected happened. The entire student council was preparing for the charity event. Avery was supposed to give a speech. Normally, she would stand alone on stage. But this time, she walked over to me. Come with me. I looked confused. Where? The auditorium. Why? She smiled. You'll see. A few minutes later, Avery stood on stage. The entire school gathered below. She held the microphone. Before we start today's event, I want to say something. Everyone became quiet. I stood near the side of the stage. Then Avery looked at me. I think people often misunderstand quiet people. The crowd listened. They think if someone isn't the loudest person in the room, they don't matter. She paused. They're wrong. Her eyes stayed on mine. Some people don't need attention to make a difference. Then she said my name. Noah Bennett. My heart stopped. Everyone turned. A lot of people know me because of what I do. She smiled. But Noah is the person who reminded me who I am when nobody else was watching. The room became completely silent. He never tried to impress me. He never treated me differently. He just helped me because helping people was the right thing to do. I didn't even realize I was smiling until Lucas whispered beside me, Bro, what? The Ice Queen just confessed in front of the entire school. I looked at Avery. She was still speaking. I hope everyone here finds someone who sees them the way Noah sees people. Then she smiled. And I hope Noah finally understands that he deserves to be seen too. After the assembly, everyone was talking. But Avery ignored all of it. She walked straight toward me. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. Why? Because you spent years thinking you weren't enough. She stepped closer. I wanted everyone to know the truth. What truth? She smiled. That the person nobody noticed she took my hand was the person I noticed first. That afternoon, we sat on the bus again. The same seat, the same window, the same place where everything started. Avery looked at me. So what? Do you still think I should choose someone else? I smiled. No good. Why? She leaned closer. Because I already chose you. And this time I believed her. After Avery's speech, something strange happened. People started noticing me. Not in the way I expected. I thought everyone would suddenly treat me differently because I was with Avery Collins. Instead, people started asking me about things I had always done. The photography club wanted advice. Students asked about my projects. Teachers mentioned my work. It was like everyone had finally looked up and realized I had been there the whole time. But the person who changed the most was Avery. She didn't become less like the Ice Queen. She just stopped hiding the warmer parts of herself. One afternoon, I found her sitting in the library. The same place where she had first told me she noticed me. She was surrounded by books and papers. You're studying? She looked up. Yes. You look serious. I am serious. I sat across from her. That's your normal face. She smiled. You're making fun of me? A little. That's brave. I learned from the best. She closed her book. You know what I like about you? I raised an eyebrow. You ask that like there are many things. There are. I immediately looked away. She noticed. You still do that. Do what? Act surprised when someone says something good about you. I didn't answer. Because she was right. Avery reached across the table. You know why I like sitting beside you on the bus? Because you wanted to? Yes. She smiled. But also because you never tried to be someone else. I looked at her. Most people change when they're around me. Why? Because they want me to like them. And I didn't? No, she shook her head. You just talked to me. That sounds simple. It was. She smiled softly. And that's why it mattered. A week later, the school held the final event of senior year. The graduation celebration. Everyone was excited. Everyone was taking pictures. Everyone was trying to make memories. I was taking photos, as usual. Then Avery walked over. You're working again. I like taking pictures. I know. Then what's wrong? She took my camera. You're always behind it. I laughed. That's because someone has to take the pictures. Today, someone else can. Before I could argue, she handed the camera to Lucas. Then she grabbed my hand. Come on. Where? Dance. I looked at the crowded gym. Everyone is watching. She smiled. I know. That used to scare me. Not anymore. Because Avery never looked embarrassed to be beside me. We danced. Not perfectly. Not like the movies. I stepped on her shoe once. She laughed. You're terrible. I warned you. You did. Then why did you agree? She looked at me. Because I didn't ask for perfect. A pause. I asked for you. Later that night, we walked outside. The lights from the gym shined behind us. Avery stopped near the stairs. I have something for you. I laughed. Another surprise? Yes. Should I be worried? No, she handed me a small notebook. I opened it. Inside were photos. Dozens of them. Me fixing cameras. Me laughing with friends. Me sitting on the bus. Me taking pictures. Moments I didn't even know she had captured. I looked at her. You took these? She nodded. Over the past year. Why? She smiled. Because you always remembered everyone else's important moments. She touched the notebook. I wanted someone to remember yours. I didn't know what to say. Because that was Avery. She didn't love loudly. She loved carefully. She paid attention. She remembered. She noticed. And somehow, that meant more. Can I ask you something? I said. Of course. Why me? Avery smiled. I knew you would ask eventually. Seriously. She looked at me. Because when everyone else wanted to be important, she paused. You were the only person who made other people feel important. I looked down. She continued. And because when I was surrounded by hundreds of people, you were the one person who made me feel like I didn't have to pretend. The next morning was our final school bus ride. Everyone was emotional. People took pictures. Friends exchanged goodbye messages. But Avery and I sat in our usual seats. The ones where everything started. She looked out the window. Are you going to miss this? The bus? She smiled. Yes. I thought about it. I'll miss the seat. Why? Because that was where you first chose me. Avery looked at me. Then she smiled. You know what? What? I think you finally understand. The bus stopped in front of Clearwater High. Everyone stood up. But Avery didn't move immediately. She looked at the empty seat beside her. Then at me. Promise me something. What? Don't ever think you're someone nobody notices again. I smiled. Even without you saving me a seat? Especially then. She took my hand. Because you were never special because I chose you. I looked at her. You were special before I did. For the first time, I believed it. Not because Avery said it. Because I finally saw it too. The Ice Queen didn't change my life because she made me popular. She changed it because she showed me something I had forgotten. Being noticed wasn't what made someone valuable. Being yourself was. And the girl who kissed my cheek on that school bus was the first person who ever made me believe that. Graduation day arrived faster than I expected. The halls of Clearwater High looked different. The same lockers. The same classrooms. The same cafeteria. But everyone walked through them a little slower. Like we were all trying to remember every detail before leaving. I stood near the entrance with my camera, taking pictures of friends, teachers, and moments that would disappear too quickly. That was always my job. Saving memories. But this time, I wasn't standing behind the camera. Avery made sure of that. Noah. I turned around. She was wearing her graduation gown, holding her cap in one hand. She looked exactly like the girl everyone knew. Confident. Beautiful. Impossible to ignore. But when she smiled at me, I saw the girl who saved a seat for me every morning. You're taking pictures again. I lifted my camera. Someone has to. She shook her head. You still don't understand. Understand what? She stepped closer. Today isn't about watching everyone else have memories. She took the camera from my hand. It's about making your own. After the ceremony, everyone gathered outside for photos. Families hugged. Friends cried. People promised they would stay in touch. Avery's parents came over to congratulate me. That still felt strange. Because a few months ago, I was just the quiet guy who sat beside their daughter on the bus. Now they treated me like I belonged. Her mother smiled. You know, Avery has never talked about someone this much. Avery immediately looked embarrassed. Mom. I laughed. Her father smiled. She used to come home every day and mention Noah fixed this or Noah helped someone today. I looked at Avery. You talked about me? She looked away. Maybe. How long? Her cheeks turned slightly red. A while. Her mother laughed. A very long while. Later, when everyone left, Avery and I walked back toward the school bus. The parking lot was almost empty. The same bus that had carried us every morning was waiting near the entrance. I smiled. The bus. Avery nodded. Our place. We stepped inside. The bus was quiet. No students. No noise. Just the two of us. She walked to our usual seats. The seat beside the window. The seat she had protected for months. She sat down. I sat beside her. It feels strange. What? Knowing this is the last time. Avery looked at the empty road outside. It's not. I smiled. How is it not? She looked at me. Because the seat was never the important part. Then what was? She answered immediately. You choosing to sit beside me. I thought about that. For so long, I believed Avery was the person who changed everything. And she did. But I finally understood something. She didn't create my worth. She just reminded me it was already there. Are you nervous? Avery asked. About college? She nodded. A little. Me too. That surprised me. You? Yes. You're Avery Collins. And? Everyone thinks you have everything figured out. She laughed softly. Everyone thinks that. Then she looked at me. But I don't. What are you worried about? She thought for a moment. Losing the people who make me feel like myself. I smiled. You mean me? She rolled her eyes. Obviously. I laughed. Before we left, Avery handed me something. A small card. I opened it. Inside was a picture. The first picture we took together at the Winter Festival. On the back, she had written, the first time I chose you, you didn't even notice. I smiled. Underneath, she wrote, the second time, you believed me. I looked at her. And the third time? She took my hand. The third time will be every day after this. A few months later, college started. Life became busy. Different schedules. Different places. New challenges. But some things never changed. Every morning, Avery still sent me a message. Every night, we still talked. And whenever we were together, she still found a way to sit beside me. Not because there wasn't anywhere else to sit. Because she wanted to. 1 year after that first bus ride, I visited Clearwater High for an alumni event. The old bus was still parked outside. I walked past it and smiled. Avery stood beside me. You're thinking about that day? Yes. The day I kissed your cheek? Yes. She smiled. You were so confused. I still am sometimes. About what? I looked at her. Why the Ice Queen chose me. Avery shook her head. You still ask that? Sometimes. She stepped closer. Then I'll keep answering. How? Every day. I used to think the best thing that could happen to someone was becoming noticed. I was wrong. The best thing was finding someone who noticed you before anyone else did. Someone who saw your kindness before your achievements. Someone who saved you a seat before you knew you wanted one. Someone who chose you quietly then chose you again in front of everyone. Avery Carter was never the girl nobody could reach. She was the girl who reached for me first. And the best part? I didn't have to become someone else to deserve her. I just had to finally believe what she already knew. I was worth choosing. That's all for today. Remember to subscribe and support us.